I'm John Grandin, Senior Field Sales Agronomist for the Western region of Growmark. Today we're going to be talking about early season corn evaluations. I arrive at a cornfield. The first thing I like to do is get an overall view of what's happening out there. Usually get out of my vehicle and just pan around and look for obvious signs of things that need to be observed a little bit closer. Things like thin areas in the field, potential washouts. I also take a look down at the ground. Look for signs of where the residue has moved. Look for signs of potential places where water has moved also, because this might require a little extra attention. It's also important to get a quick view of the crop growth stage, because this is key for making management decisions. Randomly pick out a couple of plants, and I can see by this guy here, he's at V1, 2, 3, V4. And a quick view of some of the other plants in the nearby area, it looks that most of them are all right about V4. With the corn being at V4, we want to also be evaluating overall weed control. And for the most part, this field looks very clean, but upon closer inspection, we can see we've got some small weeds starting, just like this small water hemp plant. We want to pay attention to that as we're scouting the field, and that'll be critical for making timely spray applications. As we're walking through the field, we come across a small plant like this that obviously is sick and dead. It's important to try to figure out what may have caused that. I like to position my spade perpendicular with the row and put it in, and as I'm pushing the spade in, I'm feeling for obvious signs of compaction. And I did not find any until I got down to about 6 or 8 inches. That I'm not too concerned with. Raise my spade up and pop that seed out, and then we can observe it. Okay, here's the plant that we just dug up. Obviously it's dead. The key is to try to figure out what's caused it. Carefully removing the soil and exposing it, and as we look at the mesocotyl, you can see how it is shrunken and brown and shriveled. That is an obvious sign of Pythium. That doesn't surprise me with the wet conditions that we've had in this field. Next, I'd like to determine what the planting depth is for these corn plants. Because of the water that's come across these fields, we're going to need to be extra careful as we pop these plants out, as the soil does not want to freely move away from the plants. Using my spade, I'm going to dig down deeper than where I think the seed is possibly planted, and then carefully pop that plant out of the ground. Next, I want to carefully remove the soil from around the plant, taking care not to break off where the seed is at. As I'm removing the soil from away from the plant, the first thing I'm able to tell is the depth from the soil down to the nodal root system is right about 3/4 of an inch. And that's exactly where we would expect the nodal root system to be, is 3/4 of an inch below the soil surface. Next, I will try to find the seed by removing the seed, the soil from around that root system. And it is right here. And we can observe a very healthy mesocotyl. It's approximately 2 inches long. So when we add that length along with the depth from the crown system up to the soil surface, this plant was planted about 2 3/4 of an inch deep. We've got a very healthy looking radicle on here, seminal root system. But this plant being at V4, it no longer needs the seed and the primary root system. It is now dependent on the nodal root system right here. Taking observation of some more plants, you can see the pale yellow on some of the young corn plants, possibly a sign of some nitrogen deficiency. Now, as we were digging the earlier plants, it does not appear that the soil is still waterlogged. The compaction does not appear to be an issue. The root systems are good. It would be a good time now to go back and review our nitrogen management program. Is this field scheduled for a top dress application of urea or side dress application of UAN or anhydrous ammonia? And if so, compare that with our weather records, the timing and form of nitrogen that was last used and make a determination if we need to be making additional applications of nitrogen. Today we did some early season corn evaluations. We took an overview view of the field to determine that there are some thin areas. We looked at residue movement through the field. We noted a little bit of erosion. We utilized that to help us determine we should probably be looking for diseases. We identified Pythium in a corn plant. The corn's currently at V4 here. We're identifying some young weed seedlings, and we probably need to re-evaluate our herbicide program. And if we have a planned post-emerge program, we need to be making plans to do this soon, as this corn will soon be at V6, V7, and possibly off-label. If you have any additional questions, please contact your crop specialist for help.